Hello! So today I'm going to start a giant macraweave. It's going to be waves, and I bought a bunch of different colored roving to go in it. I'm using this stick that's kind of like an S shape, which reminded me of kind of a wave.
So I first started going in with a sketch. I drew it before I got started just so that I could get the scale of everything correct. The colors and everything else aren't really accurate. It's just more of a representation of the image that's in my mind. So that way I have something to stick to when I'm doing this late at night and for days on end. I then moved on to pulling all of my cord. I knew I was gonna need a lot for this one. I don't think I actually did any math, which I probably should figure out how to do eventually. But for this, I just essentially tripled what I thought the length was gonna be. After that, I moved on to putting all of the cords onto my stick. I, again, didn't really know how much I was gonna need. I was just kind of trying to make enough to fill the area of the stick that I knew I needed to fill. So I just put them in and then spaced them evenly and then cut more accordingly.
Hello, so I finished stringing it and I've got it set up in a way that I like it. I'm planning on having one big wave in the middle and then two little smaller waves on the side. Hopefully like the biggest wave comes up to here maybe, and then it stops around here. So now I'm just gonna start forming the wave shapes, which I think is gonna be hard for me because just drawing waves was hard for me, and I don't know why. It feels like it's something about my dyslexic brain, and like, I don't know, no idea. So this might take a couple tries, might have to undo a few lines.
After I made the wave template, which was just, again, to help me keep my lines and scale in the correct form that I'd originally sketched in my mind, I started going through on the left side from left to right and then realized that that wasn't going to work. So I had to start over and started from the middle and worked left and right at the same time, and that kind of helped me keep the shape of the waves in line. After that, I went through and added the underwaves, which is going to be where I add a lot of roving and weaving. And this one I was just kind of doing freeform and natural, kind of similar to the sketch, which I've added here just to remind you of what I was looking at when I was making this. But I just wanted lots of different shapes to play with space and more string. After that, it was time to add the roving, and I start this by twisting the end of the roving over itself and then into a tight little, for lack of a better word, like Q-tip tip. And then I go through and tape that off with just a piece of tape to keep that wrapped. And the reason I fold it over is so that it's more sturdy, because the roving likes to come apart really easily. So yeah, I just wrap the tape around the tip so that it creates this little aglet, for lack of a better word. It's like the tip of a shoelace, and that's what's gonna help me weave it through all of the different pieces of string. Once my roving is tied off at the end, I'm ready to start my beginning knot. This kind of takes me a while, and I didn't really know what the best way to do it was, if I should make it look like a stitch or really just anchor it in. So I kind of played with it a little bit, and I just kind of left enough tail end at the end to tuck back in on itself. That way I didn't have to cut any later. Eventually I tie a knot tight enough, and then I can tuck the little tail back behind so that you don't even know it's there. And then I just continue stringing my roving through the various vertical lines that I have made. I think I skipped every 3 and wrapped backwards, going from the front. And that's how I just kept a consistent look to this weave. In order to make this easier, I try and wrap the excess roving that has to go through all of the length of the vertical cord. I try and fold it in about 1/8, I would say, and then just keep that together in one hand and use that to pass in between the lines. And when the lines get smaller, it's a little bit harder, so I can pull it through in halves. But again, the more you half your roving, the stronger it'll be, because roving has a tendency to pull apart, and you want to try and avoid that at any and all costs.
it is a new day today. Good morning. I'm just keeping on with this guy. It's going pretty well. Because it's so big, I don't know why it's like forming these, it won't stay flat. I don't really know what that's about. Oh, hello, rainbow. But I'm hoping that the more thickness I put in here, the flatter, like the more bulk will make it straighten out. I don't know if it's like the camera's doing a good job of showing how like wavy it is, which is, I mean, that might be okay in the end because it is supposed to be waves. I don't know, I'm liking how it's going right now. Eventually I will do some tassels. Let's just keep on weaving. So it is a couple days later now, and I'm just continuing on this project, and I'm just adding more depth into the deep waves under it, and I'm just gonna kind of try and make organic wave shapes with different types of weaving and materials, and hopefully it'll create a pretty seascape.
So here I'm just going through and adding fringe. To do this, I just cut a bunch of scraps of this blue yarn and then tied them on the vertical strings one by one, and then kind of alternated them every other line until it was just as full as I could get it. I then went through the fringe with my scissors and just snipped the edges so that I could kind of shape it into more of a clean, wavy, fringy shape.
reached a point. I've finished all of my weaving up here. I'm cut all of my fringe to this slight wave pattern. I am now going to go through and see about adding some fringe. I was thinking of adding some in these little wave pockets. And then I'm going to go through and add a bunch of little seashell bits. It'll just happen organically. I'll figure something out. And then I will be done.